times are changing faster than we have ever known, and more people are, to be frank, am I allowed to swear on this? To be frank, just sick of the bullshit.
Nisambula. My name is Jennifer Janif. I'm originally from Fiji.
South Korea.
China.
The Philippines.
From the Sudanese diaspora.
Kazakhstan.
Beautiful island of Tuvalu.
I'm Samoan, Niuean, and Chinese.
Singaporean, Malaysian, Chinese.
Filipino.
I'm an Indian.
Arab on my dad's side and Azeri on my mom's side.
Samoan Chinese.
I'm of Fijian Indian descent, and I'm currently the referee development manager at Auckland Rugby.
Being a migrant or an ethnic person, what does it mean to you?
You know, I feel prouder to say I'm an ethnic person. You know, being Samoan Chinese, I love the fact that it's two very different cultures. It makes me feel unique when, as a young person, perhaps I didn't feel that.
Settlement in a new country is never easy, but it is intergenerational resilience which our ancestors have gifted to us, which helps us in the settlement process.
Because of the way that I look, there will always be some people in Aotearoa who will never accept me as a New Zealander or a Kiwi, even though I have basically grown up here.
I found that with ethnic communities or people in colour in general, there's immense solidarity.
When we think of the migrant experience, it means being pulled between two forces.
It means having to adapt to a new environment. For myself, I felt discomfort being like the only brown person in a workspace. It's really intimidating.
Sometimes ethnic also means different. And I think that's like the first thing that my mind goes to. It's different. It's not Kiwi. It's something else.
What do you think it means to be a Kiwi?
For a long time, it was around fitting in. You watch TV and it was a white person that was on TV. There was no ethnic people there. I used to, a long time ago, pride myself that I didn't sound like I was an ethnic person. That's why we need so many role models in our communities, so that being a Kiwi doesn't have to be just white.
Yeah, I live in two different worlds, so sometimes I feel uncomfortable calling myself a Kiwi because it feels like I'm backstabbing my own culture. How do we reconcile this?
They'll be really nice and say, oh, you're a Kiwi now, you've been here for X amount of years and so on. Once you become a citizen, does that make you a Kiwi? Or once you've been here for a year or two, does it make you a Kiwi? Or you must be born here? I don't know, but do I feel like I'm a Kiwi? Not so sure about that either.
Any place I go, be it a cafe or work, the eyes that I get, especially from Pakeha or old Pakeha, it's as if I don't belong. So I don't claim Kiwiness because I have a lot of re-indigenizing to make with being Sudanese first.
There isn't a set way to be Kiwi. There are kind of symbols though, like sour onion dip. I hope so. Did I get that right? I hope so. Oh, I'm gonna butcher it. The cream onion dip? Okay, the cream onion dip.
When it comes to ethnic inclusion, ethnic relations, what can we do better?
To me, the reality of what we're really struggling with is power sharing. They still have this mentality or the thinking that we are still not good enough.
To see consistency, I guess. So whether you're against war, you are against war all the time, right? No matter where it is.
When people talk about diversity and inclusion, they mostly speak about gender only. And I see that in my work with Mind the Gap. There's been a lot of discourse around the gender pay gap in recent times. But the lack of intersectionality in these discussions is simply not good enough.
We need to think about systemic diversity. How are we really accommodating with the structures in place for someone who's neurodiverse, for someone who identifies on the LGBTQ+ spectrum?
You know, it's not like a tick box exercise. Like, you really need to put in the work to educate yourself and to stand up for the things that you support and believe in. And, you know, it's not just about posting a black square on Instagram once and then just going about your life.
Especially when they take words like kia ora or, Māori, Aotearoa Māori, but don't say it correctly or don't know what it actually means.
What we don't do well is like applying the action part of it. It's all talk, talk, talk. There's no listening from the people within power.
So it makes me think about the idea of cultural intelligence. So I don't have to be the expert, but I'm just curious to find out
If you get to know me first, maybe you can get rid of some of the stereotypes that you may or may not have.
Who am I going to resource to learn about how to do this work better? It's not just asking your one employee who might be Maori or who might be a woman. It's about how do I, again, go to community and pay them, hire someone, or that person, that employee, how do I increase their resourcing to allow for that work to happen?
Give us a seat at the table, and we need a variety of seats. You know, person of color that you bring, it's like, what's their engagement with their community? And I strongly believe, like, as much as even I fall into saying I want to represent my community, no one person can represent their community. Don't homogenize us. Don't homogenize Muslim as an umbrella term or ethnic as an umbrella term.
Oh, homogenizing groups is just a no-no.
As an employee, you can really feel it, because I do think some people might have a fear around, oh, if I say something then I might get fired or I might get disciplined or slowly like moved out of the company kind of things.
The company can say, oh, we hire 20% Asian employees, for example. But what the data doesn't give us it doesn't give us context, so we don't know how those Asian employees are being treated. Like, there is no report on that.
One of the things people always say is, oh, you know, but you'd still be earning less if you're in the Philippines, so the main sentiment really is just be grateful. The grateful migrant effect and the grateful migrant syndrome, I've just had enough of it.
Being Muslim, there's a big part around us as being food, halal food, and not being cooked with others and all that other kinds of stuff. When I played rugby and my dad came to an after-match thing and he was kind of, you know, all the kids went up and had food and they did mac and cheese, which had bacon in it. And so I kind of went around and just ate a piece of bread. On most occasions, most people aren't exclusive, but what they are is not explicitly inclusive.
As soon as I found an Asian female doctor, I felt like I was getting all the support that I needed for years. I mean, all the other doctors did their best, but it's all unconscious bias. They're not trying not to help me, but as soon as I met Asian female doctor, just everything, I got all the support that I was wanting to get.
What we could do better is, better understanding, create platforms where we can come together, shared value, common values of humanity, and within our ethnic communities, having a better or greater understanding of Indigenous issues, racism and prejudice amongst the ethnic communities.
Being part of the rainbow queer community, like, often our voices get marginalized, and also another thing is the rampant ableism in ethnic communities.
Perspective, I think, for me, when I go to a place and if I can pray there, if you give me a corner, I will just pray for 5 minutes when I have to, right? So to feel like it's okay to do that, or to feel welcome with the hijab, and actually just don't see the hijab, you know what I mean? Just see me as a person for who I am.
How do you feel about people asking questions about it? Like,
Oh, I completely welcome questions. I love it when people actually ask me questions. Okay, why do you wear hijab? I'm happy to talk about, anything, as long as you're not forming ideas in your head.
What do you love about your culture?
Oh, my culture. That requires me to know what my culture is and where I belong. So if I were to speak of my nationality, which is Russian because I only hold Russian passport, I like food.
The food.
Food.
Like, it burns your mouth, but you can't stop eating.
The Filipino government needs to appoint me as the ambassador for Filipino food.
If I speak of my other ethnicity, which is Azeri, I would say food as well, because those guys eat a lot. So yeah, I love that.
The intergenerational resilience, the collective cultures. Collectively, you're a strength, you're a force. Alone, you're not.
I think there's actually a street in Singapore where there is a Chinese temple, an Indian temple, a synagogue, a mosque, all lined up on the same street. And I think that is actually kind of a representation of that melting pot of different cultures in Singapore, which I grew up in.
My Islamic culture, I think prayer for me, that 5 minutes of your life, you're disconnecting from everything else, and there's just you with your thoughts.
And that's why, every time I hear that there's an ethnic celebration somewhere, like the Lantern Festival, our ethnic celebrations, Pacifica Festival, our Kapahaka, I just love to go, and because you learn so much.
And lastly, what makes you feel like a badass?
I don't know why I laugh at a question like that. Okay, I will own this, Alina. So what makes me a badass? I think it's just being unapologetically myself. When I look back at when I was 20, when I was so insecure and unsure, to now where I don't mind people see me how I am.
And I don't hesitate to speak my mind because I'm a community development practitioner.
I feel like a total badass when I am surrounded by just incredible women who just get shit done and like are supportive of each other, but are also not afraid to be vulnerable.
When my family and my mom especially tells me that she's proud of me, that makes me feel like a badass. Because on the other hand, my family can humble me real quick.
Honestly, just existing at this point, existing and the fact that I've came that far makes me feel like a badass. Like I'm still here. I'm not leaving New Zealand.
I go to dance classes a lot. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror. Yeah, maybe that.
Whether you're the Prime Minister, whether you're the mayor, or whether you're an employer, or whether you're a boss, or like, or community leader, I will speak the truth all the time.
Whatever box you want to put me in, whatever labels you want to, put on me, or, some standards you want me to meet, whatever it is that you want from me, I'm sorry, I'm not here to, abide by that. I'm gonna do what I think is right. And if it's my hijab, and if no matter who it offends or what people think, I'm just gonna show up this way. And yeah, that's pretty badass.
I would tell my inner child that. I'd be like, you're doing good.